Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, and as promised, I'm going to do a pretty quick a video review of When Night Falls, which is for the MYFAROG RPG game system, which is produced by Varg Vikernes. And as you can see, I put the two covers up here. So the first one is of the current edition, which is 2.7, which came out about, I'd say, a year to a year and a half ago. It was upgraded from 2.6 to 2.7. And what 2.7 did was it took a lot of the supplements and combined them up into that one volume. So you can pick that up on Amazon for about $13. So one of the cheapest, or I should say least expensive, and still good quality, RPGs, in a soft cover format that you can get. And I have quite a few of them, and like I said, it's a good quality as well. The binding and I'll go a little bit into that with the adventure module as well. So here's the adventure module, When Night Falls, and I'm going to jump right into it now. Reviewing a produced module, I don't want to, I don't want to give any spoilers. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to just, tab through, some of the components of the adventure. And that's how I'm going to be playing around with, when I do reviews of actual adventure, booklets or, the full campaigns that, I might pick up the Salt Marsh one for D&D 5e. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just kind of show how the adventure is put together, some of the game components that found their way in there without revealing any part of the story in itself. So this is the first time I'm trying that, so hopefully it works out well, and I hope you enjoy and learn from what I'm looking to do here. So I'm going to jump to my view here. So here it is. Here's it's a fairly small booklet, and remember I was talking about the binding. You can actually almost see it here. You see this little crease that's right along here? All right, so that allows you to actually open up the book and still see the pages without folding the binding all the way over. And I haven't even, really creased this seam yet. And it's the same on the rules book. So, the rules book is something that I go into a lot more often than I've gone into this here, and its binding is still very much the same, and that's because of that little feature that they have here. So these these are print on demand, and the other thing I like about it, so you can see this was made in the USA, 2017, July of 2017, so actually almost 2 years ago. I picked this up, and in Middletown, Delaware. So that's I've noticed that all of my MYFAROG products have come in from that same printer, pretty much. I'd have to double check, but I think they're all coming from there. And so it's as local print on demand as you can get. Now I've already, put my little tabs on here so I can show you, just key in on some of those spots that I wanted to go over first. So I'm going to start just by going over here. So here's the foreword, and very, very brief story. So the brief story starts off as nothing has been heard from a family in Bear Hillside east of Riverwall, and the adventure party will be asked to investigate. Of course, this seemingly easy task has the potential to develop into more complex investigations deep into Troll Valley. It is all up to your players and the paths that they choose. So very, very simple, actually maybe I'll try this view. So it's very, very simple story. And you have to remember that, part of the thing that I really like about MYFAROG is that, your characters aren't starting off as like seasoned adventurers. They're starting off as teenagers who are kind of breaking away from their tribal, village, possibly for the first time, and just going out into the wilderness of Thule, which is the setting for the game system. Just going out into the wilderness is an adventure in and on itself, and it's really quite dangerous. I mean, it's a no messing around game system. You can go out there. I know the first time that I played, we went with a party of about 5 players, and we came across a pack of wolves, and or at least a portion of a pack of wolves. And if I recall correctly, and these weren't any kind of a phenomenal, like very, they weren't alpha wolves or pack leaders or anything like that. These were just standard common wolves. And those 3 wolves, just because some of our rolls were terrible, and I guess some of their rolls were much better. But I mean, they practically wiped out the party. I mean, I think we lost at least one person, one character, another one severely wounded. Almost all of us walked away with some kind of an injury, and it took quite a while for us to beat those 3 wolves. So this game is not like other games, in that, excuse me, this game isn't like other games that, you know, regular random encounters out in the wilderness you're going to easily handle even at first level. Um, you have to be kind of smart and lucky and know when to fight and know when to flee. You know, um, just based on how things start to turn out. So it starts off with a very simple story, and the kind of thing that a new fledgling adventure group might be tasked with from their town elders. So then the next thing I wanted to bring up was, and I'll show you this. I will go back to this view. So then the next thing I wanted to clue in is that the next part is they give you they give you all of the details of the location that you're starting off in. So it tells you the location, the month that it's taking place, the weather, the wind direction, the wind strength, the morning temperature, I mean, just things, that will give the, some texture to explaining the environment that the characters are setting off in. Let's see my next tab. So my next tab, I put in here amber. In MYFAROG, one of the more common exchange items is amber, and amber isn't measured out. So you're going to get a lump of amber for doing whatever task you're doing, or maybe several lumps of amber. But they're not uniformly, shaped or cut or anything like that. So there is some randomness, but they don't seem to consider it I'm giving you each 3 lumps of amber. Now, some of those might be larger than others, and the players just accept their 3 lumps of amber and they move along. Things should kind of level out over time. So it's just a unique thing. I kind of like the idea, that there's no coinage and there's no preset value on these things. So that's the next thing. So characters are traveling, and so there's a reference here to go to travel and survival in the land of Thule. So I just tabbed off on that to show that, in every adventure there is some travel, and travel is going to lead you to, to other side possibilities such as random encounters or some kind of an environmental hazard or such. Moving on. I'm just going to go to my next tabs without going into. So burying the dead. So I pointed this out because there are two different paths that can take place if your characters choose to bury the dead that they encounter, because it is very much a part of Thulian culture, at least for those of the religious base. If they bury the dead, they may receive certain advantages. And for those that are traditionalists, they might also bury the dead as well, or they have a different ritual involved with burying the dead. And, it's important in this particular adventure because it will give a choice later on or an event later on, depending on whether the characters chose to do it or not. I'm not going to get into, whether it's a benefit or a detractor for having buried or chosen not to, because I don't want to spoil it. But doing things that match the lore is important in this game. And, or it has a consequence in this game, or not doing things has a consequence. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out and tab there. Going forward, let's see. No, I specifically skipped this. So I'll go here. So over here, I tabbed this here because they go into a section where it goes into the Mythmaster using alignment and advanced religion and curses and gifts. So, like I said, many of those are incorporated into the 2.7, so you don't necessarily need them. They're in the core book now. These were all supplements when I got them. And so, but again, different aspects of the game are showing themselves throughout this adventure. And flipping through a little bit further, I'm trying to avoid showing things. I tabbed something here. Oh, practicing skills. So here's something that, character, I'll let it get caught up. Sorry about that. Here's something where if the characters repeat the same action, they'll start to use the practicing and skills section to determine, whether or not it becomes easier, and then if they'll gain experience the first time that they do something, but maybe not the second or third time, but it will become progressively easier for them the more and more they do it. So again, a progression built in, that is both skill based and and story based, and it gives the characters and the players, a sense of achievement as they're building up these skills, and practicing their use of them and gaining advantage. Now I'm going to go to the next tab. Let's see. Here's one thing. I'm not going to stay on this very long because I don't want you to read it. But there's one event here that if depending on what the character does, again, it could lead to another event that is that becomes a major event because that character made what might seem to be a fairly minor escape, mistake. And so it's once again, it goes to the character's actions having a consequence. It goes to the lethality of the game. Should they get unlucky with certain things. It also goes to, ramping up, in some cases unpredictably, even for the game master, ramping up the action of the game, of the adventure as they're going through it. So it's another detail that, I wanted to point out. And I think it's, it's important to have those kind of branching storylines, and it's important to have, I hope that's not beeping through here. Let me turn this off real fast. it's important to have those branches and those shifting consequences based on what the character is actually doing. And then finally, the last thing I'll point out here. So finally, the last tab I put in was dealing with the party receiving experience, and then at the end, it leads into the next possibility of an adventure. So it goes here: will they get any help? You and the Myth Master will decide. Game Master in this case will decide whether or not the characters will then take this story and move on to something else. So, for the most part, it's a well-balanced adventure. It's fairly short, but it does have many, different, sections of it. So there's basically, there's like 9 different sections of it. There are, stanzas from the Havamal, so things that help you kind of get the flavor of what's supposed to be, going on in this adventure. You will find secrets. I'll read it to you. You will find secrets and interpret signs, very important signs, very strong signs, written by a great sage and made by powerful gods, who also built a roof or temple for the powers. So that was something that was included in the table of contents, and it kind of lends itself to the overall story, of what's going on when night falls. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You can get this adventure module on Amazon. As a matter of fact, let me, while I have you here, let's see. Sorry about the delay. This is the unscripted and unchained part. I'm going to jump right in and see when night falls. $5.38 on Amazon Prime. All right, so like I said, $5.38. You're getting a soft cover, bound fairly well, fairly thin book. The adventure total is 51 pages, which is not, it's not terribly short. There's quite a few maps in here, and quite a few encounters, and like I said, a nice variety of a mix of investigation, combat, travel, discovery, lore, and a nice buildup of action, and then a settling down once it's complete, and a fairly good spread of experience points. You get experience points in this game based on completing various segments of an adventure. So you can earn somewhere around 500 or up to 1,000 experience points during the course of one adventure, depending on what you're doing. And I found that leads to leveling up characters, probably every 2 to 3 adventures. So it's a well-paced game as well, as far as building up your character's strength and such. So highly recommend highly recommend this adventure module. There are 2 more that I have that I'm going to be doing videos for them in the near future. So that's The Depths of Darkness. So this is the next one, a little bit thicker, as you can see, and then later on after that, the Hall of Event and Terror. So a few other things just that I'll tack on. So as I mentioned in my last video, I got my copy of High Seas Trader, and so this is the original disc. So I got this on eBay, and the person that included because this is DOS based. So the person that I purchased it from actually installed this onto another disk and then made that disk compatible with Windows 10, which I've already fired it up. So this will be the next video that you see on my channel, and that'll be a kind of a. I have not played this game in at least 20 years. So to get back into it, you're going to see me going into it and trying to figure it out the same way that a new player to the game might actually figure it out. So, that'll be the next video. Thanks for joining in. I'm going to switch. I changed my my closing, and I noticed some problems with my last video where the video tags didn't seem to work. I'm going to have to double check and see that that's working out again. But I changed my closing out video, so I'll go over that a little bit while we're on it, and then I'll shut this one down. So thanks for joining. If this is your first time visiting, glad that you found the channel. I hope that you liked what you saw. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please, consider subscribing. And that way it gets out there a little bit more. I just broke the 300 mark the other day, yesterday or the day before. And so, really excited about that. I believe it was yesterday. I broke that level. So, thanks for everyone that has subscribed so far. And you'll have a good rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime very soon. You all have a good evening. Yeah, so I changed this this picture here. I added some new games. So just to go really quick, over it. This is For Against Darkness right here. If you can see my cursor, For Against Darkness. This is from the same from Ganesha Games, and this is a large army miniatures game, Armies and Hordes, I believe it is. It's slipping my mind right now. MYFAROG is actually right underneath this, and my MYFAROG supplements. This is the Art Arcana for Dungeons & Dragons, still sealed. That's the collector's edition. This is Monolith's Conan. These are my bloat games. Survive This. So Survive This Zombies 1, 2, Dark Places and Demogorgons, and then this is for Dark Places and Demogorgons. Waiting for Vigilante City to come in sometime within the next couple of days. I'll be doing a video on that. Here's my 5 ebooks. These are Savage Worlds, Solomon Kane, a few extra things thrown in there. Lion and Dragon from RPG Pundit, and then Dark Albion, which is the setting for that DCC. This looks like basic fantasy in here. Then I have James Bond from the early 1980s. So James Bond box set plus the Q branch booklet. This is my very first box set of Dungeons and Dragons. So I believe this one was 1980. 1983 is the red box. This is the Stranger Things edition that I just picked up. Top Secret, Bushido, Gangbusters, Pirates and Plunder. This is Fast as Star Trek. All of these books below that are the Conan 2D20 from Modiphius. I have my Dungeons & Dragons 5e starter box. Above that is Shadow... I almost said Shadowbane. Slipping my mind now. What the heck was that? Let's see. Actually, I can't even read it from here. But I forget, Shadowrun. All right. And then this is the Pathfinder deck, Shackles and Chains or something like that. Never played it. These are my 1E, D&D 1E. The rest of the supplement books for Against Darkness are stacked over here. As I keep on building up, here's some video games. So that's, that's the Age of Conan for the PC. And then above that is Skyrim and one of the other ones, Oblivion, the books for them. So anyway, Well, that's pretty much a wrap. So thanks for joining in. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you. You all have a good evening.